Okay, everybody, today we're going to talk about functions and tables, and then we're going to apply that to coordinates. Coordinates is something used on a coordinate plane to show where something exists, but we're going to start with a function table that we've used before. Now, sometime your table is going to have two rules, but sometime your table is just going to have one rule. And think about it as a washing machine. It comes in, it goes out. It comes in, it goes out. It comes in, it goes out. It comes in, and it goes out. And then you have to figure out, well, what is the washing machine set to? Now, the way I always like to look at it is say, okay, are my numbers getting bigger or smaller? And if they're going to get bigger, I'm going to ask myself, well, can I add something to get from here to here? And I can. 3 plus what gets me 9? Well, 3 plus 6 gets me 9. But 5 plus 6 does not give me 15. And that doesn't work because your rule must work for everything. So your rule always works. It has to work for every single thing that you're going through. It always has to work. So I can't add, so I ask myself, well, what can I multiply? 3 times what gives me 9? 3 times 3. 5 times what gives me 15? That's 3. 7 times what gets me 21, and that's 3. So obviously my rule is going to be times 3. So I can either write that as x times 3, or the more, I guess, correct way, I'll kind of put in a thought bubble, is 3x. So x times 3 works, but really the correct way is to say 3x. And then I can apply my rule over here. I can say, okay, well, 9 times 3 is what? That's 27. So I found the rule that works, and I was able to answer the question for the missing blank. But unfortunately, sometimes your one rule system is not going to be able to work out quite as easily because it's going to have multiple steps. And this is going to be stuff you just have to kind of guess and check and see if it works. So let's look at this system. Now, I have a couple things I'm missing. I have something to put in this blank, and I got to figure out what my washing machine setup is. And I look, I say, okay, it comes into 2, it comes out of 10. It goes into 3, it goes out of 14. It goes in a 5, it comes out a 22. My number's getting bigger or smaller. They're getting bigger. So I'm going to think normally for multiplication or addition. 2 plus what gets me 10? Well, 2 plus 8 gets me 10. Well, does 3 plus 8 gets me 14? No, it doesn't. It actually gets me 11, so we know that the plus 8 can't work. Well, I can multiply 2. 2 times what gives me 10? 2 times 5 gives me 10. But unfortunately, 3 times 5 does not get me 14. It actually gets me 12. So we know that that's not going to work. So if we look, this is actually going to be a multiple rule setup. I'm going to have to do more than one operation, and this is just kind of a guess and check method. So I want you to pause the video for a second and see if you can figure out what multiple steps or what my washing machine is set up to where I can find the right answers. So pause the video, see if you can figure it out. Now that we're back, I will go ahead and give you the little hint that our rule is going to be 4x, so we'll multiply the top number by 4, and then I'm going to add 2. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 8 plus 2 is 10. That works. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 2 is 14. 5 times 4 is 20, and 20 plus 2 is 22. So that works. So I can apply that rule for this box right here. 4 times 4 is 16, and 16 plus 2 is 18. So that is what we call our one rule function table, or sometimes it's called an in and out. Now this table you see, it doesn't have my washing machine box. It actually has something in here. And then I see this, it says rule A and rule B. So we have a two rule setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my top numbers first. And then I'm going to go and look at my bottom numbers second. So I have two separate rules on one table. Now the first thing I need to go ahead and do for my dark blue ones is I need to tell where, we don't really have to underline that, you need to tell me where the table starts at. So it starts at 6, and then I have to figure out a rule for all of my x's. Now I know my numbers are getting bigger, so that should signify one thing, either, well, it could be two things, multiplication or addition. I'm going to start with addition because it's easier. 6 plus 7 gets me 13. I hope my plus 7 one is the rule. 13 plus 7 is 20. 20 plus 7 is 27. And 27 plus 7 is 34. So that works out. So I figured out my first rule is starts at 6, and all of my x numbers, I'm going to add 7 to it. So now I need to focus on my blue ones, or my light blue ones. Start at 2, and I see that they're going up. 2 plus 2 is 4, but 4 plus 2 is not 8, so I can't do addition. Okay, let's try multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, and 16 times 2 is 32. So I figured out my y rule. I need to start at 2, and I need to multiply all of my y's by 2. You could say that, or you could say 2y. Either way would work. Now on the next page, or the next little slideshow, we're going to talk about how we can use a two-rule system and make coordinate planes. So we are going to focus on another two-rule system. So we're going to stay in our two-rule tables, and we're going to apply it to make what's called ordered pairs. Now in ordered pairs, we're going to use later for plotted points on a coordinate plane. So unfortunately, these numbers won't mean a whole lot to you unless you've done a coordinate plane before. So we still have a two-rule system. We have our dark blue numbers and we have our light blue numbers. And I actually want you to pause the video to see if you can figure out what rule A is and rule B is. Now that you're back, that must mean that you figured out the rule. So I'm going to start with my dark blue ones. My numbers are going up. So I'm going to try addition or multiplication. Doesn't matter which one you try. I always start with addition first. 0 plus 4 gives me 4. 4 plus 4 gives me 8. 8 plus 4 gives me 12. 12 plus 4 gives me 16. So that would work. So I figured out my rule for rule A. Whatever my x numbers are, I'm going to undo this. Whatever my x numbers are, I'm going to add 4 to it. Now I need to figure out rule B. I'm going to try to go from here to here with addition. So 2 plus 4 is 6. Oh, that's not good because 6 plus 4 is not 18. Okay, so I can't do addition. So let's try multiplication. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 times 3 is 18. 18 times 3 is 54. And then we get 162 because 54 times 3 is 162. So I figured out my light blue rules. I'm actually going to multiply all my y's. So my y's, I'm going to multiply by 3. So nothing has been new up until this point, except now we have ordered pairs. We figured out our x numbers and our y number, x numbers and y numbers, and we're going to put those together. The first ordered pair is 0 for my x and 2 for my y. My next ordered pair is 4 for my x and 6 for my y. My next one is 8 for my x and 18 for my y. 12 for my x, 54 for my y, and a big one, I don't have enough space for that, 16 for my x, and 162 for my y. So what we're really doing with these is we're just saying, okay, these two numbers were on top of each other. these two numbers were on top of each other, these two numbers were on top of each other, and these two numbers were on top of each other in our ordered pair table. So this last one is a little bit trickier. I want you to pause the video and I want you to see if you can figure out what the rule is for rule A. So what the rule is for rule A over here. So my dark blue numbers. What my rule is for rule B. And can you put those numbers as ordered pairs down here? So pause the video and see if you can find the rule for rule A, the rule for rule B, and then see if you can figure out as ordered pairs. If you pause the video, you're back. That must mean you figured out the rule. The rule for rule A is you are going to take all of your x numbers and add 16 to them. 6 plus 16 is 12, 12 plus 16 is 38, 38 plus 16 is 54, and 54 plus 16 is 70. And my rule for rule B is my y is I'm going to times 5. I'm going to times my y by 5 or y times 5. And I need to figure out this guy right here. 10 times 5 is 50. I need to write them as ordered pairs. 6, 2, 22, 10, 38, 50. Big number. 54, 250. Ooh, it's going to be hard to squeeze that one in. 70, 12, 50. And we're going to take all of this knowledge and we're going to apply it to coordinate planes tomorrow. Now, all of page 3 is going to be a review of stuff we've covered up until this point this year. We have exponents, we have multiplication, we have rounding, we have fraction and decimals, we have numerical expressions, and we have order of operations. You will work all that out by yourself and then compare your answers to mine. Thanks for watching, guys.